Hello everyone, back to today's second video. So I've already done Jan-May Friday. You can find that video here on the homepage. It's just above the Stow desk and it's covering the next month, and that takes us into the second half of March, and we're starting off with a very extreme blocking pattern, really cold weather in the next week or two. And then we might see a gradual relaxing of the blocking pattern, and the cold spell should start to ease as we get further on into March. But have a look at that and see what you think. It's an extended month-ahead look ahead. This is going to focus on the weather next week to 10 days, and that's really where the interest is lying at the moment, because we've got the high pressure setting up over Scandinavia, beast from the east that we've been talking about a lot lately. It's going to be taking over the weather pattern next week, turning the winds into the east, and these are going to be bitterly cold winds. Got a usually cold mass there heading into Europe, and that area is going to be swept into the UK through the course of next week, and it will actually get colder and colder through the course of next week. So the peak of the cold temperatures will possibly be around Wednesday or Thursday next week, when I think we're looking at temperature staying below freezing all day, severe night frost, and potentially quite a bit of snow as well. So I'll get on with your week 10-day video in a second. Just to say that coming up later, we'll have a look at the midday runs. That'll be between 7 and 8 o'clock this evening. Tomorrow, we've got a big weekend of updates coming up to the website, because as well as all this cold and snow stuff, we've also at the final weekend of February, which means we've got to start releasing the spring forecast. So we're going to have the third and final season one roundup for the spring of 2018. And that'll be with you on Saturday, tomorrow, first thing in the morning. And then on Sunday, we'll have the actual spring forecast for you as well. So alongside all this cold and snow, we've also got the longer range stuff going on. On Sunday evening at 5 o'clock, there'll be a live chat with myself and Quantum. We're going live to talk about the chance of well, it's not a chance, there will be very cold, maybe even severely cold easterly winds, and the risk and the chance of significant snow with those easterly winds as well. That's from 5 o'clock. Put in your diary, 5 o'clock Sunday evening, a live event discussing all of next week's severe cold and snow possibilities. That will be here at Gazweathervids. I'll also post it to our Twitter and Facebook page, and so it'll be interactive. We'll be taking questions, and you'll be able to ask whether it's going to snow in your area. We probably won't be able to answer everybody's questions. I assume there will be a lot of interest for this one, but we'll do our best to answer as many as we can. Right, so with all that said, let's go on with today's second video. We're going to start off with the Arctic Oscillation Observed and Forecast chart. The black line here shows where we've been with the Arctic Oscillation. Red lines at the end where the GFS Sommel's forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to go, including this for today's video, because this hasn't updated for a few days, but it has finally updated today. It's up to the 23rd of February today, so it's bang up to date. And you see what's happened with the Arctic Oscillation through the season. So it was quite negative, actually, with the AO through November and into the first half of December. Then before Christmas, we really lifted the AO up. You remember that very mild spell we had running up to Christmas. And then just after Christmas, it went a bit colder through Christmas into early January as the AO went negative. There's been a bit up and down, really, through January and into February at times. Quite positive with the Arctic Oscillation, but other times we have had some negativity. This is where we are right now, still in positive territory, but over the next few days, we're going to see an absolute plunge, maybe you could say a collapse in the Arctic Oscillation. So by the time we go through to the start of March, we're at an extremely negative level indeed. Now, as we go through the first week of March, the GFS Sommels are wanting to lift the Arctic Oscillation up, but only sort of lessening the blocking, so just relaxing the blocking signal a little bit, still in really quite negative territory with the Arctic Oscillation, which tells us that although the blocking signal might relax a little bit, it might not be quite as extreme with the blocking through the early part of March, Nevertheless, it's likely to still be quite significant and substantial blocking at play. And so I wouldn't necessarily be expecting things to warm up very quickly through the early part of March. Anyway, we could well keep things pretty cold quite a way into the first week of March, maybe even into the second week of March. Remember, it's always the weather that's driving the index, not the other way round. So the reason the Arctic oscillation is going very negative is because we're going to have a very extreme blocking pattern. NAO is very similar, so again the black line tells where we've been with the North Atlantic Oscillation, red line's at the end where the GFS was forecasting the NAO to go. So we haven't been negative with the NAO since the second half of November. Interestingly, from around the first day of December onwards, we went positive with the NAO, and we've just been going more and more positive really through the winter. So we arrived at a very positive NAO through the first half of February, and we are still in very positive territory with the NAO as well. But GFS symbols are forecasting another plunge, and we're going down to a really negative level with the NAO by the start of March. So again, that tells us that the blocking signal is going to force the Atlantic as well into a negative NAO type setup, which means that we're going to replace low pressure around Iceland with high pressure, and we're going to replace high pressure around the Azores with low pressure. So it's a complete flip on the pattern that we generally get from off the Atlantic through the first half of March, this period just here, or first week or two of March. The NAO goes into an extreme negative state, and it gradually starts to lift itself up. So by the very end of the GFS ensemble runs, which is in the second week of March, we are getting back close to neutral. But again, that's a very, very long way off in this kind of weather pattern. And I think overall within the GFS ensembles anyway, looking at these indexes, it's by no means guaranteed that this is going to be a short cold spell. This could well turn into quite a prolonged cold spell of weather, maybe lasting through the first half of March. That's kind of like what JMA Friday was hinting at today. GFS ensembles then, we're looking at Bedford today. Somebody has asked me, have a look at Bedford. Now, we have got quite a long list of places that people have been asking to see, so in these videos. So I would just say that if you're on the list, and we will get to it in the end, but we've got quite a few now to get our way through. So starting with the upper air temperatures, so the red line here is a 30-year upper air temperature average for Bedford. Round average at the moment, a little bit colder average perhaps today. There's the plunge in the upper air temperatures taking place at the end of the week and into next week. Go to a very, very cold level at 850 HPA below, at or below minus 15 Celsius, and then a slow lift in the temperature taking place as we go through the first week of March, although even into the second week of March, generally the GFS ensembles are still more or less on the colder than average side, not at this very extreme cold level that we're going to get for a time next week, but even so, still generally trending on the cold side of average into the second week of March. There are some milder outlier members, including today's latest operation run, which I'll show you in a moment, that thick green line there. So quite a split within the GFS ensembles, but I think overall the GFS ensembles are seeing the possibility anyway that this cold weather, not at the extreme level we're going to get next week, but that cold weather could extend even into the second week of March. The precipitation anomaly looks like that. A lot of dry weather coming up over the weekend inside of next week, and then gradually through next week, precipitation spikes are increasing. Most of that, for a time anyway, will be snow. Surface temperatures at Bedford looking like this. So that's 0 degrees just there. That's plus 10 degrees there, and that's minus 10 down there. We're starting off already quite chilly, but temperatures are going to be dropping over the coming days. So by the early and middle part of next week, we are getting ice days here in Bedford. Temperatures are staying below freezing all day, with some really quite severe night frost as well, down to that sort of level. Before later on in the week and towards next weekend, a very slight lift up in temperature begins to take place, but it's really slow in doing it. It's only a very gradual process that we begin to lift those temperatures up, and even as we're at the very extended range, that period just there, I mean, there's about a 50-50 split even then, with many of the ensemble members still keeping things quite cold at that point. That's how the temperature anomaly is looking for the next week. That going from the 23rd of February through to the 3rd of March. And it's looking majorly cold for most parts of Europe. The British Isles and Ireland is included in that temperature anomaly. It's quite widely away from Spain and Portugal anyway, where it's not quite as cold, but quite widely away from there across the continent. Temperatures will be going between 6 and 10 degrees below average. Coldest temperatures particularly focus on the east and the northeast of Europe. Precipitation anomalies for the next week are looking like that. Quite interesting actually for the UK. Notice that western parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland are drier than average. But precipitation anomalies for eastern parts of the UK are actually coming out, particularly eastern England, actually coming out a little bit above average. And that is all snow. That is all snow showers and longer spells of snow being pushed in off the North Sea on those easy winds. So some eastern coastal areas could get really quite buried in snow from this situation. Even inland areas in the east are likely to have quite a deep snow cover from those snow showers. And that's before we start thinking about the possibility of moving up some more prolonged snow from the south towards the latter stages of next week. Over in America, it's colder than average across western states, but in eastern parts of America, it's actually warmer than average. So there is often this idea, I know, that America gets all the cold, and over in Europe, particularly in the west of Europe, we're always mild, but we see a bit of a flip on that in the week ahead. Very cold across much of Europe, and away from western parts of the states, actually many eastern areas of America are looking really quite mild in the weekend. I've spoken about this before, but it is kind of similar to the pattern that happened during the freeze-up of early February 1991, where there were some extreme warm temperatures in the eastern part of America through that early part of February 1991. Temperatures went above 70 Fahrenheit in quite a number of the populated areas of America during that first week of February 1991, whilst the UK and Europe was absolutely plunged into extreme cold weather. And it is kind of similar to that type of setup, although the cold might not be quite as extreme this time as it was in 1991, purely because we're at the end of February. The sun's a little bit stronger compared to being at the start of February as we was in 1991. Precipitation anomalies in America are looking above average through many eastern parts of the state. So where it's mild, it's also quite wet. It looks a bit drier down in the south and southwest. Also Florida probably would be a nice place to go if you want to escape the cold weather. So this is how the GFS, latest GFS run, 6 o'clock run, is looking for Monday. That's when we're starting to bring in that bitterly cold air. Already on Monday, we'll start to bring snow showers into the east, and those snow showers will start to get dragged inland through the course of the week next week. High pressure is in over Scandinavia on Monday. The winds from the east, there's the upper air temperatures. Already we're pushing the minus 10 Celsius ice firm across the country at 6 o'clock in the morning. So it'll be a bitterly cold day on Monday, and it'll feel very cold in that icy easterly wind. And those upper air temperatures just get more extreme actually as we go through the course of the day. And that's how things are looking at the end of Monday, again with those bitterly cold east winds no doubt feeding in snow showers across eastern parts of the country. That's Tuesday, again a long fetch easterly, and now only 96 hours away, so this certainly hasn't been downgraded. We follow the ice bars back, and the air's originating from up here, right from Siberia. It's pushing across the continent and into the UK and into Ireland as well. There's the upper upper air temperatures, they're still looking very cold, particularly for England and Wales. Wednesday, again, we're in that long fetch easy winds. Notice these little kinks in the ice bar. I've been mentioning these this in the video quite a bit lately. That's telling us where we've got embedded troughs and disturbances coming in along the easterly flow. That can just enhance the snow showers and maybe even band them together into longer spells of snow. We go up to Thursday, and low pressure is forming off the coast of Portugal then. So what that does, it strengthens the gradient between the high pressure that's blocking things out to the north, the low pressure that's off the coast of Portugal. So we get it probably up to a gale force easterly wind blowing with severely cold upper air temperatures. That's going to produce a very severe wind chill factor. So the weather gets more severe as we go through the course of next week, and we're up to the 1st of March now with, I mean, look at those upper air temperatures. We're bringing the minus 15 Celsius isotherm across England and Wales particularly. We've got a strong easy wind going. I don't know what the wind chill is with that, but it is going to be really quite horrendous, that wind chill. I would assume it's down into minus double digits, how it will feel in the wind. And also, of course, those easy winds will be blowing in snow showers, and as the wind gets stronger, they'll be penetrating further and further inland as well. It's a really nasty spell, actually, this. If you don't like cold weather, it's going to be really quite bad, I think, next week. Friday, the easterly wind continues. We've got this low pressure heading into Biscay. That could be threatening more persistent spells of snow to southern parts of the country. By Saturday, the 3rd of March, that low pressure is just beginning to slide away into eastern France. But we're keeping it cold even into the weekend of the 3rd and the 4th of March. Eventually, by the time we get through to day 10, which is only the 5th of March, we are trying to re-establish a milder flow from the south, probably bringing some heavy snow with it, and then maybe turning back towards rain in the far south. There's the upper air temperatures turning milder from the south. But I think, as I explained earlier on in this video, as I've been explaining in recent videos, I think there's quite a lot of uncertainty about just how quickly any milder air will get in. This is how the surface temperatures are looking through the course of next week. Starting tonight, going to be a widespread frost tonight. Temperature going down in places around -4 or -5. A pretty chilly day coming up tomorrow. Temperatures around 4, 5 or 6 degrees. It'll feel fairly cold in the wind. And another widespread frost. Maybe not quite as frosty though. On Saturday night into Sunday. And then the cold air begins to move in from the east on Sunday itself. So by Sunday afternoon, temperatures across eastern Britain are only between around 1 and 3 degrees. It is still a little bit less cold out in the west. And then a widespread frost sets in, quite a severe and penetrating frost on Sunday night. Monday is a cold day with temperatures struggling to get much above freezing. 1s, 2s and 3s across most parts of the country. A few places staying below freezing up in the north. Then we go through to Monday night, Tuesday morning. Again, another widespread, quite severe and penetrating frost. Another very cold day on Tuesday. Temperatures again just about managing to scrape above freezing for some parts of England and Wales, although northern and eastern Britain being forecast to have ice days on Tuesday. Severe frost on Tuesday night into Wednesday, and then look at that. Wednesday is a widely an ice day across the whole of the country, really, away from the far southwestern tip anyway. We're looking at forecast temperatures anyway to be between around -1 to -2 to say around -4 across some northern parts of the country. That's exceptionally cold for late February. Severe frost on Wednesday night into Thursday. We're up to Thursday the 1st of March, and look at that. We've got temperatures being forecast to go down widely to -7 or -8 degrees, probably over snow cover across large parts of the country. And another very cold day on Thursday the 1st of March. That might be the peak of the cold temperatures, when the GFS model is suggesting we don't get any higher than around -3 or -4 degrees across most parts of the country. It's hard to believe that's possible with the sun now relatively strong. That might be over the top. But, I mean, if it did come off, then I assume that's got to be getting close to breaking a date cold record for the first day of March. Quite extraordinarily cold. Even on the south coast, we are staying below freezing at around -1. That's an exceptionally cold day for what is the first day of March. Severe frost on Thursday night and then into Friday. Again, widespread ice day, but not quite as cold on Friday. Just beginning to loosen its grip a little bit, but even so, many places staying at or below freezing all day. And then into the weekend, it stays cold. Temperatures slowly start to creep up a little bit above freezing by Saturday, the 3rd of March. But, I mean, we're only talking about 1s, 2s. Certainly not anything to get excited about. And generally, this is a very prolonged spell of cold weather that the GFS model is predicting for next week. GM looking like that. Winds in from the east on Monday, and then we go through into Tuesday. There's something happening in the North Sea just there with that allegation of the ice bars. That's probably bringing in a more persistent area of snow for Tuesday. Wednesday, we've got this long fetch easterly wind, which will be bitterly cold. That continues to Thursday as well. There's the upper air temperatures for Thursday, showing that -15 Celsius ice firm, again moving in from the east. So that's what's dragging the temperatures sub-zero around Wednesday and Thursday. If we get that -15 Celsius ice firm or lower upper air temperature across the country, that is what will give us those exceptionally cold days for so late in the year. Offsetting that is the strength of the sun, but whether the strength of the sun will be enough to offset it, we're going to find out if that -15 Celsius ice firm pushes through. We keep it very cold up to Friday next week, and throughout all this period there's a risk of quite substantial snow coming in as well. And then we go into the weekend of the 3rd and the 4th of March up to day 10. We're looking like that. So generally staying quite cold. There's that area of low pressure, or generally staying very cold, I should say. There's that area of low pressure developing around Portugal and Biscay. It's going to try and move some milder air up from the south, probably with a snow event initially. But again, how quickly that mild air gets to us, whether it does get to us, we've got to wait and see. ECMWF has the wind in from the east on Monday. Again, there's something happening in the North Sea just there with that elongation in the isobars for Tuesday. That's when our first hit of snow arrives Monday, Tuesday. There's the upper air temperatures for Tuesday looking very cold. Easterly winds are maintained into Wednesday. Upper air temperatures looking very cold indeed. The easterly winds continue to Thursday. Upper air temperatures are even colder. There's the -15 Celsius ice firm across much of England and Wales. That is likely to be our coldest day of this spell, I would have thought, on Thursday, the 1st of March. And then we go through to Friday, still looking bitterly cold. And actually, the ECM is keeping us in cold weather right the way to day 10. So that's how things look on day 10, which is Monday, the 5th of March. We are still maintaining cold conditions. That low pressure is a long way from us, further away from us than it is on the other two models. And so it certainly isn't bringing its milder temperatures and milder air up to us by day 10. And there's the upper air temperatures. Whilst the cold isn't as extreme as it is a few days before, it is still looking really cold up to day 10 with this morning's ECMWF. The built ensembles for the ECM finally look like this. So we start off quite chilly already, and it just gets colder as we go into the weekend and into next week as well. Bitterly cold, whether that's freezing just there. So ice days galore going through much of next week in Holland, and then a slow lift up in the temperature maybe, but it is all looking very inconclusive, I think, through that period. So here we go again. There's no sign of any backtrack from the models. We are now within 72 hours of bringing in a bitterly cold easterly wind, and we're within around 96 to 120 hours of bringing in potentially some quite severe air. So this is all getting within the reliable time frame. There's been no backtracks, no downgrades. If anything, the cold has perhaps been upgraded a little bit, especially for southern and eastern parts of the country in the second half of next week. So I think we've got to take this very seriously now, and I know the UK Met Office has issued an amber weather alert, cold weather alert, That may well go to red, which is kind of national emergency type status through the course of next week for some parts of the country. But at the moment, the weather alert is at amber from the UK Met Office. And it's all looking quite serious, actually. I know a lot of you have been waiting many years for such a cold easterly wind and heavy snow, but not everybody is going to enjoy it, and some people are probably going to suffer quite a lot from this weather that we've got coming up next week, because it could get quite serious for some people through the course of next week. So let's see where we go when we issue our evening update this evening. We'll be looking at midday runs of the computer models between 7 and 8 o'clock. And then tomorrow, the weekend forecast will probably be the most interesting weekend forecast I'd have thought that we've ever done at Gales Weathervids, bearing in mind we started website in 2012. All right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.